Okay, thank you all for going ahead and dialing in on this afternoon's call. My name's Amanda Brewton. I am the owner of Medicare Answers Now. Welcome to today's discussion about the state of Medicare, what's going on with that, and where's the future going if I have a crystal ball. So we've got several hundred of you on the call today, or on the webinar today, and I appreciate that. It looks like I've got you from all over the country because I've seen people from coast to coast, which is fantastic. For those of you who are new to how I teach and all of that, buckle up, Buttercup, because you're in one hell of a ride. I am as direct as they come. I have been asked by the agent community to give it to you straight so that way you are, there's no fluff. I try to go ahead and cite my sources as we go, and I am going to do a quick bio just so that way, some of you are sitting there probably going, who the hell is she and why should I listen to her? What makes her the person that I need to know about, the go-to when it comes to these types of things. So I'm going to share my screen. I hate PowerPoints. Many of you who have been on my classes before know that. But to start off, the first thing that I do want to go ahead and show you is, and I'm not going to use this very much, but let me go here. So, a few things that I want you to go ahead and note is that one, I've been in this industry for just under 20 years. I'm very active with our professional organizations, both NABIP and NAFA, which I will talk about in detail in a moment. And then also, I do several conferences that for your development, you should look at going ahead and being a part of. The first one that comes up is going to be Medicarians. That one is on March 31st to April 2nd. This one is in Las Vegas. For those of you that need a reason to go to Vegas, you can get a free hosted ticket by going to Medicarians.com and then clicking hosted ticket. The hosted ticket just means that you're going to go through the expo hall, which I guarantee that you will. I am the creative director and the sponsor for the Agent Symposium, which is Monday, the first day of the conference. And it is a conference that basically 4,000 of the movers and shakers that are in our industry, from everything from actuarial and product design to FMOs and the sales distribution force to the technology side and the lead side. There is no active selling from the stage on this one. This is all about what is happening in our industry and how do you take your career to the next level with that. And that includes not just, well, how do I sell somebody, but what is actually happening and what's the trajectory of what's going on. So that particular conference, like I said, it's March 31st to April 2nd, and it is in Las Vegas. It will be held at Caesars Palace or Caesars Forum. Last year, we had 3,000 people that were at this conference, and we were over capacity and broke fire code at one point with the final rule discussion. That was the very first session of that day, the Agent Symposium day. So hope to see you at that one. The next two conferences are hosted solely by me. The first one is my vacation themed deep dive event, which is Medicare Margaritas. Yes, we do serve alcohol in the morning. This particular event is 3 days. It is, you go to school from 8 in the morning until noon, and then we do networking and hit up a bar in the afternoon. Medicare Margaritas is designed to be two-hour deep dive workshops in over those days. So this is designed for an agent that wants to really sink their teeth into how do we develop the business? Let's focus on systems and staffing and goal setting. That's day one. Day two is all about marketing. I teach a three-pronged marketing approach, as many of you know, online, community, and print. This allows you to really build that out. And then the last day is cross-selling. Do you have the right products in your portfolio? What does that look like? And then any other questions and connection that we need to have. So that one again is in Orange Beach, Alabama. That one is at the end of April, which is April 28th through the 30th. And then last but not least is my pride and joy, which is Ms. Medicare. That one is going into its 5th year. It is held in Cleveland, Ohio. It is a take on Ms. Congeniality. It is beauty pageant themed of all things. And yes, you can laugh. But that particular conference is all about showing women, other women role models that do what we do, and how do you take it to the next level. So super fun event. Hope to see you at any of these or all of them. They are very informative, and we can actually prove that those that attend these events tend to produce higher or and grow their business effectively from them. So those are the conferences. This is a high level of what we are going to talk about today. So we're gonna, like I said, go over who I am. We're gonna talk about and my agency. We're gonna talk about the Medicare calendar, which I know all of the new people that joined do not know what that is or what it is, what that means. So I want to spend some time talking about that, because if you don't understand the Medicare calendar, you won't understand about why things are the way that they are, the timing that's involved in it, and the ability to go ahead and move forward with why things are, how things are formulated. We're going to talk about the new legislators that are coming into power. This will not, and I stress, this will not be a political discussion. This is straight factual. I don't care which side of the aisle you're on. That is not the time or the place on any of my forums, or my webinars, but this is straight up factual. What does this mean for us? Is this good? Is this bad? What happens with that? So that's what we're going to talk about with the legislators. We're going to talk about the infamous commission issues that I'm sure every single one of you and your colleague friends are having issues with. What does this mean for you? What happened during AEP, and what are we going to do about it? I'm sure you guys all want to know, and today I'm going to talk about it. We're going to talk about the proposed rule and what is coming for this next year's AEP. And some of you are probably rolling your eyes going, oh my God, the last one just got over. Can I breathe, please? Before we start thinking about next year? No, we got to talk about it now. So, and there's some reasons for that, but those are the things that we're going to do. And then last, I'm going to end with, I'm going to tell you what you can do and how you can get involved, so that way you feel better about what's going on in our industry and what needs to happen moving forward. So we have a full day today, for the next hour and a half that I've got you. So buckle up, Buttercup. This is going to be one hell of a ride. Okay. So, let's go ahead and let's move into this. And you guys are a riot with this. And as Lizzie says, let's go, which is actually the tagline that the NABIT president, Alicia Riedel, says. That is her thing. Let's go. Let's make this happen. So, moving right along. And now I'm channeling my inner Muppet. So who am I? I run an FMO. It is out of Cleveland, Ohio. As I said, I've got about 400 and change agents across 41 states. I am known for the education and the training that I do. I do a ridiculous amount of free training throughout the year. I typically train from January to August, and I travel all over the country doing conferences and speaking on stages, or speaking at NABIP events or NAFA events. And my goal, which everybody asks, what's your why? Why do you do what you do? I'll tell you. I want to change the stereotype of what an insurance agent is. Some of you are going to look at me and go, you are out of your damn mind. That is something that is too hard, too much. Hi, I am too much and I am too hard. So, and some of you are sitting back laughing, going, yeah, she's had her caffeine today. Yes, I have. Cup two. So when we go ahead and with this, it is one where I don't sugarcoat shit. If you're looking for somebody to sugarcoat it, it ain't me. Go find another creator that does that. It isn't me. I'm going to tell you where the problems are, and I'm also going to show you how to solve them. I am not that girl that's going to just bitch to bitch to bitch to bitch. I don't come from that school of thought. If you have a victim mentality, I'm telling you right now, stay to the end, because I'm going to change that and hopefully empower you to get up, stand up, and help, because you need to. We are no longer, and hear me, stop doing whatever it is that you're doing in the background. Listen to me for a second. We are no longer at a point where you can just sit on the sidelines and say it's someone else's problem to deal with what is going on in our industry. You do not have the ability of doing that anymore. I can't be any more clear. And I'm not asking you to do a bunch of things. I'm not asking you to spend a lot of money, and I'm not asking you to go ahead and dedicate a lot of time. I'm going to give you a couple of things to do that will literally take you 5 minutes, and it will give me and the rest of us that actually take this seriously, that want to move the needle and help you, will do the heavy lifting. But I need you guys to help me help you. I can't do this by myself. NABIP and NAIFA cannot do this by ourselves. You don't like what's happening in the industry? This is today's call, and I will go ahead and post this on YouTube so you can share it and listen to it again. But we are no longer at a spot where you can look at it and go, I'm focusing on staying in my lane, and I'm not going to go ahead and go outside of that. It's someone else's problem. If anything that you got out of this past AEP with the changes with commissions and everything else that happened, that should scream at you that you no longer can sit at the sidelines. Okay? So, with that, and I hope with my tone, it got you to sit up and listen to me, because this is where we're at. Okay? So, flipping back into my lovely little presentation so that way we can continue to go on a little bit more. This is my contact information. If you do not have it, go ahead and take a screenshot of that. My email is the fastest way to get a hold of me. It's real easy. It's Amanda at Medicare Answers Now. There's my address. There's a picture of my office. My website is right there. You can find me on Facebook and on LinkedIn. And I just opened up a YouTube channel. So for those of you that do not know, I go ahead and my YouTube channel is now, and shocker, because you're going to love the name of it, it is Insurance Unfiltered by Amanda Brewton. And I just put it in the chat box, because how many of you know I don't come with a filter? So by all means, follow it, subscribe to my channel, because then you'll not be notified every time that I do a video. The videos will change in the videos will change in timing. So some will be a couple of minutes, some will be a couple of hours, and you can pick and choose what they are. And several of you just put the link in the chat. So I appreciate you doing that. April, the surveys, I'm going to talk about that in a minute. So slow your roll, and I will get to that in 2 seconds. And I've got a couple of people that are advocating on NABIP. Give me a minute, guys. You guys are running ahead of me. So this is my staff. It is not just me. And yes, I do like boys. There is I have boys that are off-site and that are part of my group. It just ends up that the people that are in my Cleveland office are all women. But yes, we are a co-ed shop. Most of the agents that work with us are actually men. So, if you're thinking that route, get it out of your head. So other things. So let's talk about this calendar. How many of you guys have seen this calendar before or heard me talk about it? The calendar is huge. So, and I'm going to high level this just so that that way you have the understanding of what this means and why. So when I refer to the Medicare calendar, Medicare runs a business that is, and yes, it is a business. Medicare runs its business off of a totally separate calendar than a traditional calendar year. Okay. And there are certain parts of this that are set in stone. And you need to understand that so that you understand, well, why do we do certification starting in July? Why is it that AEP is in October? Why can't they do it where it changes the timing? What is going on with all of that? Today, we're going to talk about that. I'm going to talk about some of the legislative process so that you understand what is happening, because one of the things that I learned over the last year is most of you have no idea of how any of these rules and how any of this stuff works. And then I step back and I look to go, well, who's teaching it? Well, guess what? Nobody was. So now, because I have a big mouth and because I'm not afraid of it, I'm going to teach you how this stuff works. Because you cannot help yourself unless you are armed with the information to move forward. And if you don't know how it works, you can't effectively communicate what your needs are and within the parameters that are given. Okay. So this is the first and foremost. Medicare and what we do for a living is run by politicians. Anybody disagree with me on that? Medicare's run by politicians. At the end of the day, what ends up happening is that you have the president and Congress that ultimately control what we do and how we do it. Now, underneath that, they employ CMS, Center for Medicare and Medicaid Services, as the entity that is supposed to go ahead and enforce, yes, I did say that, they are supposed to enforce the rules that Congress passes. Okay? So this is primarily how this works. And some of the stuff that you guys want to change, what we all want to change, literally takes an act of Congress to make happen. There are other pieces, parts to what we do that CMS can come back and fix. And the trick is to help identify and teach you which part, who has control and what happens. That is a separate training that Danielle Kunkel Roberts and myself are going to do on January 9th. January 9th. And I am going to get you the link for that. So hold on a minute. You gotta love my trusty dusty calendar so that I can pull this link for you. Okay, so what we're looking for is the NABIP 101. And anyone can join this, but this particular training is the one to register for if you want to understand who has what control and how rules are set up and why changes are the way that they are. That's the January 9th training that I just put in the chat box. And I'm going to put a ton of different trainings and things that I want on your radar in the chat box today as we roll through. So flipping back into this. So when you go ahead and you look at the calendar, this calendar is run by CMS. So what happens is that the proposed rule is the set of rules that CMS publishes through the Federal Register. So anybody can go onto the Federal Register and pull up the actual document that is the proposed rule, which are the rules of engagement that CMS thinks are a good idea for the upcoming year. So the proposed rule shortly came out after the elections. And it was a massive document. It comes out and everybody starts panicking, going, oh my God, here's the changes. This is what's going on, da 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 da. And I'm going to go into detail about what that proposed rule is in a minute. So you have that piece of it. It comes out in November, December timeframe. Then they open up for public comments for 60 days at a minimum. Anyone can submit comments back to CMS going, I think you are smoking something with the ideas that you have in the new proposed rule for 2026, or we like these things and here's why. Anybody has the ability of submitting those comments going, yes, we like these things, no, we don't. I taught you guys that last year. I will teach it again on January 9th. The drop date for the proposed rule is January 27th. All comments have to be in by January 27th. You miss that date. Sorry, Charlie, no such luck. So January 27th is when the comments close. And then April, typically the first week in April, which is why Medicarians does the first panel on the final rule, because it's usually out by then. The final rule comes out first week of April, last week of March. That is now set in stone. So I have agents that go, well, why even bother doing there? We have no power. We don't have the ability of sharing or changing what the proposed rule is. Oh, yes, you do. Add on top of it that with the final rule, it comes out, and when you read it, which it's difficult to read because it's written in legalese, so everybody has their own interpretation. But that final rule says, here's what we proposed. Here's a synopsis of what everybody thought about what we proposed. And here's what we decided to do given the input that we got. So each one of the 12 entries, which I believe is how many that there were this year, each one of the 12 ideas is going to have that kind of format when they publish the final rule. Now, that final rule, there's only two ways that it gets fixed. Either there is something that is done like last year, where there was a court lawsuit that was filed to stop what the final rule said, and a federal judge came in and said, whoa, 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 you're not doing this. Slow your roll. That's one way that it changes. The other way that the final rule changes is you're stuck like Chuck until 12 months later. And the next final rule comes out. Those are the only two ways that a final rule changes. Now, there may be additional clarification inside of that final rule, which that does happen regularly. And there's usually two updates that are given. One that is done usually end of June, beginning of July, and a second clarification that is done end of August. They are not changes to what the final rule is. They are clarifications that go, did you really mean this? What does that actually mean? Now, there are also multiple final rules when it comes to various bills. So you have a final rule that we're talking about regarding the rules of engagement with how AEP and how plan design is done and how we market. There's also a final rule that is discussed regarding the Inflation Reduction Act and the Part D changes within the Inflation Reduction Act. And those are where a lot of people last year got confused because they didn't understand that there were multiple things in play that were why things kept being released. Okay. So the final rule comes out at the end of March and then beginning of April. The carrier then takes that final rule and they must go and figure out by county, by product, and by plan And product is HMO, PPO, PDP. Plan is, well, it is the HMO plan 5 or the plan 7 or the enhanced or whatever it is that that plan name is. So the carrier has theoretically about 60 days, so from April to June, to go and figure out and file the intent of where are they going to offer plans? Are they going to do a service area reduction, meaning they're going to get rid of the plan or exit markets? What do those plan designs look like? And this is what they ideally want to do when it comes to plans. So that happens first week of June. AHIP and certification starts typically end of June, beginning of July. Early looks as to what the carriers propose to CMS happen starting in July into August. Usually what ends up happening is then CMS looks at it and goes, yes, this is right. No, it's not. You need to adjust some things. Again, we will talk about this later. And then come end of August is where they approve the plans, and then the carriers do their road shows. So then come August or October 1, you guys can start doing AEP and doing the enrollments. That is the focus of what the calendar year is. Now, when you look at the new legislators coming in, when's Inauguration Day? January 20th. The January 20th is Inauguration Day. The final rule, the proposed comments stop on the 27th. That right there, we don't want to hurry up and wait. We don't want to have it where there's those adjustments that are going on. Okay. So the fact that, what can they do for a very, very short term time frame? Not a whole lot when it comes to the proposed rule in that respect. They can't throw it out. They can't start from scratch. They can change what's in the proposed rule as to where the focus is and add things to it and make addendums, but they're not going to throw out the entire proposed rule and start all over. They cannot do that. So, Ryan's question: the final rule that was stopped by the lawsuits, are those things still on the table for 2026? And that answer is no. They ended up going a different route. So stay tuned. I'll talk about that when we get to the final rule piece of it. They just found a different way to come at it as to how that's going to be done. Okay, so professional organizations. Many of you are new and don't know that we have professional organizations, and I highly recommend that you get involved with them. The two big ones are National Association of Insurance Professionals, NABIP. That is the one that I am very, very loud about. I am also on their Medicare advisory group. It is a select group of about a dozen agents that go ahead, and their job is to take what we hear in the agent community and use that to influence and discuss with various legislators from Congress all the way down to state level on your behalf. They have a whole working group for that. They have an FMO council that does the same thing. They have working groups regarding ACA and employer benefits and all the things. Every February, they do a CapCon or Capital Conference. This year's Capital Conference is February 26th or February 23rd to the 26th. And that is where you actually go to Capitol Hill and you talk with actual legislators and tell them, we all have some talking points that we use, but we promote we advocate for our industry and what we think needs to happen or be fixed or changed in our in those couple of days. It is a really good conference to be at. This year, the key change is this. There are surveys, and many of you, if you follow me on social media, you have seen me talk about and post about the surveys that are needed. And I'm actually just going to go to the NABIP website so that way you have it. But what you're going to do is go to nabip.org, and you will see right on the front page about Capital Conference and the surveys and stuff like that. So if you click into the surveys, what we are doing is twofold. There is one survey that is for you. That is for you as a broker to say, this is what I have a concern about with what is happening in our industry. And here is the actual financial ramification of this to my business. That is survey one. Survey two is that we are asking you, and we have over 3,800 surveys, and the goal is to have up to, well, we want 10,000 surveys and what we from your clients. And what we are doing with that is we are asking you to shoot an email off, do a Facebook note message, send something that says, and I'm going to put this link in the chat so that way you have it. But what we want you to do is we want you to say, hey, listen, legislators think that we're all bad. If you think, or if we have helped you in any way, if I have brought any kind of help or alleviated any kind of anxiety that you have concerning your health insurance, will you please take 2 minutes, fill out the survey, which the link is in the chat box, and all we are asking is these 5 questions. That's it. The questions are, can you share a story about how your agent has helped you? What concerns do you have about your Medicare coverage? And what city and state are you from? And lastly, were you enrolled in traditional Medicare or an Advantage plan? Those are the 5 questions. Now, what are we doing with this? These surveys are how you help me help you, help NABIP help you, help NAFA help you. What we are doing with these is we are creating a 12-page state level pamphlet that is going to be given to those that come to CapCon in February. And you will be able to take this and give this to any legislator that you work with or any staffer, because it will show directly what the effect is from the mouths of the people that got them elected, which is that's their love language. You got to talk to them using the people that vote for them. Your voters are saying this, we do a good job. Your voters are saying we have value. This is what I need you to do. It takes 5 minutes. Some of you are going to go, okay, I don't know how to compose an email and I need help going ahead and figuring that out. Well, guess what? Go into my Facebook or my LinkedIn. I have even emailed this at least twice. But what you're going to go ahead and do, once it goes here, you are going to click into, where is it? This one is the easiest one, and I'm going to copy paste this just so that way you have it. What you're going to do is, here is the language that an agent used from an agent built that she sends to all of her clients. You need to go ahead and send this out multiple times. It can't just be once, because you'll have people that will forget. But what you want to do is you want to send this email out. It'll take you 2 seconds, but it helps us so much. I cannot begin to tell you. Do this for me. I am begging you. If you go ahead and you do this, we take this, we get it to legislators. We are speaking their love language with talking from a constituent. The beneficiary, the senior's mouth is saying we do a good job. It's showing our value. It's showing what we are worth. That will then get them to listen to what we need them to hear us say, so that it gives us the power to affect the change that all of you want to see happen. Do I want you to come to CapCon? Yes, ma'am. I want you to come. Some of the chapters even have it where you can go ahead and get a scholarship to go. So I highly recommend that you do it. If you click into, and I believe NABIP just went ahead and put the links in because they're auditing this. You have all the things here. We are trying to get CMS actually at CapCon. We are trying to get several key players at the table at this event. And it speaks volumes with us to be able to have y'all present. So you can stay at the Hyatt, you can stay at the Yotel. There's many of you. How many of you guys on here, just because I've NABIP on, I want to do a sound off? How many of you guys are planning on going to CapCon? Can you put in the chat, say yes? I want them to see how many of y'all are looking at going. There we go. That's what I like. So this is how we rally the troops, guys, right? So at the very least, you want to go ahead and do the surveys, great. If you want to go ahead and do more, there's other ways that you can join in and help, because God knows we need it. The other thing that I will tell you is these surveys don't have to just be by members. So for all of you that are not a member, I need you doing this too. It is not just for members. I need you to tell an agent friend. We have to band together. Think about this for a minute, because I've had, you gotta love it. Those of you that have been following me for a while, you know that I affect change. I don't sit here and scream about shit I can't change. Y'all know that. I have waged war about the unsolicited calls. We move the dial on that. You've watched me for 2 years do that, where the FCC has now issued that legislation, right? So you know that that's where the power is. If I'm this loud about it, we have the ability of changing it. And it is something that I need. I'm not doing it just for shits and giggles because I'm bored, guys. We know this. What this ability does, and if we think about it, I've got 350 plus people give or take on this call. If each one of you sent out that email and you got 5 surveys back from your clients tomorrow, and oh, by the way, yes, there is a PDF of this that you can use. If you got 5 of those client surveys, that's 1,500 surveys in a heartbeat that we have that help us get visibility with politicians. You go ahead and you do this where we have a unified voice with all of us doing this, and we get 10,000 surveys. Tell me a legislator out there that isn't going to turn a blind eye to 10,000 voters. And I'll tell you that that person will be out of office inside of a second. There is strength in numbers. This is why this is so important. And I know I keep saying that, but somebody is sitting there going, she doesn't know what she's talking about. There's nothing that can happen with this. And I'm sitting here telling me, hold my beer and watch me do this. Watch us do this. You have so many people that are behind the scenes that are living and breathing the advocacy side of it. I never in a million years thought I would be doing what I'm doing. I love it. And at the same time, there are people that do this and are told, hell, I can't tell you how many times I've cried where I've had agents call me going, what do we do? I just lost X amount of money. What am I going to do? Do I need to find another career? What's going to happen to my family? What are you doing to fix this? I only have the ability of fixing this if you help me. And there are so many of us, Danielle Kunkel Roberts, Chaylin Jackson, Kitschy's on the call. I saw Dustin's on here. You've got Eric Soderberg that's going ahead and advocating. You have Dwayne McFerrin, if you know who he is. There are many of us that we don't get a dime by going ahead and doing this to help you. Not one dime. It costs me thousands of dollars to help advocate for our industry. It costs those people thousands of dollars to protect your livelihood. To sit there and say it's not going to work and to stand in my way, now comes the tough love. Match my energy or sit down and shut up and sit on the sidelines. Because I will get to where we need to, or I will die trying. And that's where we need to go. You have to look at it from that perspective. I used to be scared to death to do legislative stuff because I thought that, ooh, they were going to go ahead and they were going to audit me, or they were, IRS is going to come, or there's going to be some retaliation. It freaked me out. It was all dumb. If you knew how small the sphere is of people that work to make these rules and how little they understood what we do for a living, you would understand that it is so important that we band together because we can actually change some things. And that's where I need you to go with this. Okay. So, end of lecture. So, flipping back into this content. So, then you've got NAFA. And Mark, I didn't forget about you, honey, because Mark is the person that actually, he and I had a conversation last year about NAFA and what they do. And I ended up becoming a member of theirs. I've actually spoken on a couple of their presentations. But NAFA is another organization that works with insurance and financial advisors. So they are going to go more into the weeds on the investment and the wealth side of things with their organization. They also do advocate for insurance things. They just did a video in regard to the letter that they sent to CMS about the issues concerning Part D commissions and how it's wrong and all of that. So they also have a CapCon or a DC convention that is May 19th through the 20th. That one is called Congressional Conference. You can find out more on the NAFA.org website. But you want to get involved. I don't care which way, but start looking at both of those organizations. The last one that I want you to be aware of is AHIP. AHIP is for the carrier. They are not for you. They are not for me. Let me say that again. AHIP is for the carrier. And the carrier has a totally different agenda than we do, guys. Totally different agenda. This is why I'm saying the first two organizations are where you want to go. If you're hinging on AHIP to advocate for us, you are sorely mistaken as to how this rolls. Okay? So just be aware of that so that way you know. My comments blew up, so just give me 2 seconds. Okay, so the links for the surveys are in there. CapCon is in there. Jeanette says becoming a member of NABIP has been the best decision I've ever made in my profession, my clients, and myself personally. For those that aren't member, become member. Okay, so NABIP, slow your roll. You're stealing my thunder. Give me a minute. I'll get there. Okay, so in district, yeah, you want to go ahead and do one-on-one meetings, which we'll get to the advocacy stuff in a second. So these are your professional organizations. This is where you need to get involved. I've now just spoken at length to go ahead and tell you why you want to get involved in all of the things, right? So did I paste the email? No, it's too big, so you're gonna have to pull it off of my Facebook. I will probably do a follow-up email so that way you guys have all of this stuff in a recap so that way you can reference it. So let's talk about the proposed rule and what is happening. So this particular screen gives you a high level of some of the proposed stuff that is being done. As you can see, not all of this is bad. The world is not ending. There are some good things in here. Um, all vaccines covered at a zero. That's a good thing. We want to go ahead and tell CMS, yes, we like that. We want to also say that insulin being charged $35 or the lesser of the two. Either it's a $35 for a 30-day prescription or it's 20%, 25% of the negotiated cost. Because sometimes it can be less than the $35, right? So that also is a positive thing that they're looking at doing with the proposed rule. And when you submit comments, you have to highlight the good and the bad. You can't just bitch about one thing. Okay? When we are talking about insulin, it is insulin that is on the carrier's formulary. If it's not on the formulary, it's not covered at the $35 or 25%. And that is what it has always been. So the next change that they're going ahead and looking at is that the prescription drug payment plan, they want to have it where it is a automatic renewal. So if you signed up for that in 2025, then they want to automatically renew so you don't have to do new paperwork in 26. That is what they're proposing. They're also proposing that carriers have the ability to have online enrollment options and telephonic options into the prescription payment plan. So we like this change also. I am definitely for this one as a positive, as to something that needs to happen. Next one is guardrails on AI or artificial intelligence. Again, good, positive change. We want this. We want to have it where there are rules and regs as to how a carrier uses artificial intelligence to process claims, to process prior authorizations, and all the things. This is a yes, please, and thank you. Sign me up now. If I could get this tomorrow in the plans, I would do it. So the first four that we've talked about, I am all yes to, right? This is where we want to go. The next one, the plan finder. How many of you guys have issues with plan finders? Whether it's on your quoting tools, whether it's on the carrier websites, whether it is on Medicare.gov. This is a known sore issue for agents and the communities all the time. This is another one. I need you to stop doing what you're doing in the background and pay attention to me for a minute. Let's talk about these provider finders and how much of a mess this is. I need you to hear me when I talk about this for a second because so many of you don't understand how this works. When a contract is negotiated with a carrier, okay, and we're going to talk in the weeds on this, on the negotiation side of this as well. When a carrier negotiates with a hospital system for an Advantage Plan network or a Part D network, well, Advantage Plan network primarily, what ends up happening is that this is a separate addendum to any of the other contracts that they have. When you are looking at providers, the provider has the ability to say, yes, I want to be showing on a provider findery, or no, I don't. Now, some of these providers have been in Anthem or Aetna or United's plans for decades because the doctor is older than dirt. That is back in the day when electronic systems weren't done, right? And that is when you had the old school big books that you would flip through and you carry in your briefcase, and your shoulder would hurt like hell because you had to carry 6 books of provider books just for one carrier alone, plus all your enrollment stuff. Back in the dark ages. Yes, I'm dating myself. Back in 2007, that's the way it was done. It wasn't changed until I want to say that they started going to online directories and really having that be mainstream back in 2015-ish. So what happens is that those old contracts that were done, and because there were paper contracts that were done, when the new functionality happened, the providers went sign their contract, and the default for being posted on any kind of provider directory was defaulted to no. It was defaulted to, yes, we're in network, but we don't want to show online or anything. It was defaulted to that no space. When the carriers, and I have worked with 2 of them, you guys know that. I used to work for Aetna and I used to work for Anthem. One of the things that I identified in both carriers on multiple occasions was when those contracts come up for renewal, they don't change that default suppression activity and move it to show that it appears. So it takes a lot of time and effort to have somebody say there's a larger problem here, or to go to the doctor and say, hey, you're showing that you don't want to show. Is that really true? And that's a problem. Now add on top of it, how often are these provider directories updated? The carrier websites are updated literally every other day. They are required to have them updated regularly throughout the year. But one of the things that when the provider people call to verify the address, is the person still in business, all of those things, they aren't verifying, do they want to show online or not? So what does that mean for you? When you're working with a client, do not call the doctor's office. That is the worst place that you go, because the biller or the person that's a receptionist, if you ask them, do I go ahead and take Anthem? And they go, well, yeah, we take that. Yeah, they take it for group. They don't take it for Medicare D-SNP networks. Oh, oops. Now it's your fault, right? So what you want to do is you want to verify it first on your quoting and enrollment tools. Then you want to verify it on, if it's not there, go to the carrier's website. And if it's not verified on the carrier's website, then go ahead and call broker support or message them and say, I checked online and it's not showing, but they are a part of the Cleveland Clinic, or they are a part of um whatever, Nuvo Health or whatever. You're going to have them say that, and then what happens is that they will go into the provider system, because it's 2 different ones, and then they'll pull it to go, yes, this is, they're actually a part of the network, they're just not accepting patients, or they suppressed it. This is becoming more and more of a problem, which is why CMS is proposing that every 30 days, the carrier submits into Plan Finder an updated provider directory. So that's where that's going. Jackie, if they're bouncing it back, telling you to call the doctor's office, tell your local rep that they're telling you that, because that's bad information. And whoever that call center person is that's at the carrier that's saying that should be written up for that. It's bad. They should not be doing that. That's a problem. If the carrier is saying we use the same tool as you, if the broker rep is going, the broker rep's new. If they're saying that they're using the same tool as them, because they all have, I know for a fact that they all have other resources to verify if it is in network or not. So who does the fix on that? The provider relations people within the carriers. which it's a known problem that they have to work on. It is one of the many 9,000 things that I talk about on the regular. So, other things that are on the proposed rule. So, again, we are for the updates on the provider finder with the accurate information for the providers. So, again, good thing. 20% coinsurance for outpatient opioid health. Yeah, they should cover drug treatment. Do you know that there is a large segment of the senior population that is addicted to painkillers? I mean, think about it. They're all hippies. They used to live to smoke pot and take pills and eat mushrooms. Of course, they're going to have addictive tendencies. It's what they did, right? So you want to go ahead and we're for that coinsurance and having the coverage for the drug treatment. The next one, I've heard other creators balk about this. Oh my God, we have to go ahead and now we're required to talk about GI on med sups, and now we're required to talk about LIS. On that one, if you're a good agent, hell yeah, you're doing that. You should be doing that without being mandated to do it. Talking about a GI on a med sup and whether something's going to be medically underwritten, that should be an automatic as a good agent. That should automatically be part of your sales discussion. You should not have a problem with that. When it comes to talking about extra help, 30 million people are eligible for extra help and don't know it. That is a lot of people that need help getting their meds that don't know that help's out there that they should be having. So having a discussion with somebody that, hey, do you know if you're having trouble paying for your meds, there's ways to do this? You should be having that discussion. So those are things that that they're proposing in the proposed rule because there's bad actors out there that are stupid that aren't doing the stuff that they should be doing. And let me tell you, bad actors, their retention is crap. So when you do this extra level of service, it helps your retention. They're going to then tell their friends how much help that you've been to them and then refer other people to you. So this is why you want to do it. I am all for this when it comes to those marketing regulations. This is where we get into the sticky part. When we look at the other pieces that they're looking at doing, so broadening the definition of marketing so that even generic pieces need to be approved, that one concerns me. So that piece, I will go ahead and submit something that says, we need to go ahead and evaluate this. I don't know that this makes sense. You are better inclined to enforce what's already here. And there are other ways that I may suggest that we look at doing this. The other thing that I need you to know is NABIP and NAFA have people. MAG does this for NABIP, where we sit down and it takes us every bit of an hour plus to compose our comments that we submit by the 27th to say we are for this and we are not. There are other comments. So I personally, along with several other members of NABIP, send personal comments to CMS and to various legislators, letting them know our 2 cents so that it's done in multiple ways. You have the ability of doing that, but I do want you to know we do comment and we do listen to your feedback as to what you like and what you don't. This particular piece about the GI and the extra help and the broadening the marketing definition, this is the one that everybody's freaking out about. I don't see it as that big of a deal. Others do. To each his own. I'm not going to knock the creators that do. Everybody has a right to their opinion. I don't see it as a make or break. Just me. The next piece of the puzzle is the one that gets more difficult for people to understand, and that is the one regarding MLR. Anybody know what MLR stands for? Medical loss ratio. There we go. Okay. So for my newer kids that don't know what an MLR is, An MLR is the government says that X amount of money out of every dollar spent for healthcare has to go towards claims, prevention of claims, and the administration of your medical benefits. And then there's another piece that is outside of that medical that percentage that is profit, it's administrative costs, it's other pieces, parts that fall into that bucket. So there's two buckets, if you will, when you are talking about medical loss ratio. Okay. Now, remember when I was talking about earlier, you had it where you have that ping pong action going on with the proposed rule and the carriers filing their products. And then they submit them to CMS, and then CMS says, hey, you need to change some things. And then they issue out the final as to the approved products that are out there. That ping pong action that I'm talking about between what the carrier proposes in a product versus what is actually approved come AEP is due to a lot of times the MLR percentage and the stars ratings and the money that is involved with the stars ratings. Which, total side note, because I'm going to scroll for a minute, I don't know if you guys are aware, but I am rolling out continuing education that will be done via Zoom starting January 7th. I've got 6 or 7 states already approved. There's filed for 26 of them, and I am working on it. But it's free content. It's free continuing ed for the states that I get approved. And there are a whole set of curriculum from January all the way to August that I'm going to do. Ethics will be in there for your 3 hours of ethics. That will be February 4th at 1 o'clock. But what is going to happen is one of those that I'm going to talk about is contract negotiation. Another one is going into the weeds about stars ratings. We're going to talk about the future of Medicare. We're going to talk about ethics. We're going to talk about a lot of the different things that you guys want to know more about with how it works and why. So it's the first Tuesday of every month outside of the January 7th one. So, and that information you can find on my website and also on my Facebook and on my LinkedIn. Anyways, what is going to end up happening is with that MLR, flipping back into that ping pong action is where they're looking to make sure that the money is dumped into the medical side of it. What the proposed rule is, and I am simplifying this way, way down because I don't want to get too far into the weeds, but what they are looking at doing is, remember when we were talking about, I think it was Jake that was asking me that question, or John. I apologize if I'm getting your answer wrong, but you were asking me about the lawsuit. Colorado is one of them. Arkansas, I'm still working on. Florida, I'm still working on. What is happening is that you asked about the lawsuit and the changes in commissions. What is happening is that the lawsuit killed them changing FMOs and marketing money and all of that structure. Um, Indiana, I'm working on. All of those I'm working on still. What That's dead. So what happened is the CMS went back to the drawing board and they went, okay, well, they're suing on the fact that, and they won the lawsuit on the fact that CMS is overextending their power. What they proposed in 2025's proposed rule and in the final rule in 2025, the lawsuit basically said CMS doesn't have the power to do this. It takes an act of Congress to make these kinds of changes to compensation the way that they're doing it. And the government, federal court, said, you're right. Congress should be making this change, not CMS. So CMS is dead in the water from the 2025 or the 2024-2025 proposed rule. Make sense? Coming into 2026, CMS went back to the drawing board. And CMS came back and said, okay, Well, if I can't monitor what's going on with compensation and we know that this is an issue, then we're going to change how this is done. We are now going to do a closer audit to what is included in that MLR, and where marketing and the commissions and stuff is in one bucket, we're now going to move it so that it's out of that bucket and make it so now it's a shareholder problem. And we're going to have a closer look put on what money's being spent and how it's being spent and where it goes. It's not all bad, but it is one of those that it's like, ooh, this could maybe get a little sticky. Now, most of you know, unless you're blind and dumber than a box of rocks, you aren't seeing the headwinds that Med Advantage Plan has got, Med Advantage plans and commissions, and the entire industry is going through when it comes to how the plans are priced, the plans that are offered, where things are going. There are significant, what is referred to headwinds. And what a headwind is, meaning that there are challenges, there's resistance into how things were built and how the costs and things are formulated. How is it that those plans, when these changes happen, what is that going to do to offering a zero premium plan? I'll give you an example. You have it where we all know we're dealing with the mess with the Inflation Reduction Act and that $2,000 cap on prescription drugs, right? You guys have heard me teach this ad nauseum about what was happening with IRA and that $2,000 cap. With the $2,000 cap, the majority of the onus of the cost now lies with the carrier. Well, if the carrier now is incurring those costs, that is called a headwind. Those are negative things that are, it's great for the beneficiary. It's negative to the carrier because this is a problem. They have to find the money somewhere to be able to offer the level of benefits that they need to incorporate by law that $2,000 cap, which meant that a lot of the plans started shaving off things like a dental plan, like as rich dental, or they started lowering their over-the-counter benefit, or they increased their max out of pocket to accommodate for that type of a problem. Another example of a problem with a headwind is contract negotiations that you guys see all over the media. One, it's a shit show that candidly, I think that Congress needs to step in and issue some legislation on, because what is happening is a big ass game of chicken. So let's talk about that. And Ryan, I'm going to go ahead and get to your question about the commission stuff in a second. Give me a minute. But what is happening from the contractual negotiation thing that is all over the media right now, right? You have the Democrats that do not like Advantage plans. They want to get rid of them. It is a known fact. They are pulling the money that the carrier gets to replace original Medicare and facilitate those benefits. That amount of money has been reduced. Every year, it's a struggle. What happens is that with the whole premise of Advantage plans is that the government has gone to private insurance companies and said, hey, you administer benefits better than we do. So what if we pay you for administering Medicare benefits on our behalf? That is the crux of what an Advantage plan is. It is the government going to an insurance carrier saying, we don't want to administer these benefits. We'll pay you to administer this thing called an Advantage plan. And the carrier, being in the insurance business, goes, sure, we'll do this. So CMS says to the carrier, okay, well, here's the rules of engagement. You have to take anybody that is on Medicare Part A and Part B. You have to go ahead and they have to live in a given county, right? Part of the AHIP that you guys take. You are required to not have to deal with any medical underwriting. Anybody can sign up for this plan as long as they have AB and they are in a county. Doesn't matter if they're the sickest of the sick or if they are healthy as a horse. You have to take them. And all of these other rules and regs for those plans. What ends up happening is that now, because the carrier is administering these benefits, the number one goal of the carrier is to keep you out of the hospital. That's how they make the money. This is why they offer all of the prevention stuff. It's easier for them to pay $2 a person to get a silver sneakers benefit and have a handful of people's blood pressure go down than to have no benefit on the fitness, have those people eat McDonald's every day and end up in the ER with a heart attack that then costs them hundreds of thousands of dollars for open heart surgery. That is what the motivation is when you're looking at Advantage plans, okay? And the carrier, the government is paying the carrier to do that. Those reimbursement rates are part of how they get their income. Another piece of that is with the stars ratings. Another part is the co-pays and the co-insurance. That is all how that is done. Now, when those rules of engagement with how the carrier admit what the plan design is and what they're required to carry change, what they're required to cover changes, that can incur costs to the carrier. That's referred to as a headwind. Now, because of all of this stuff that is happening with the reimbursement rates and the Inflation Reduction Act and the costs that are associated with, the hospital systems decided to glom on. And all of the hospital systems, which are bleeding money because they have an issue with staffing, they're understaffed because of COVID. You got a bunch of people that got out of the industry after COVID. You have a whole bunch of other issues from a hospital perspective because of how healthcare is done. And hospitals only get money one of two ways. They're going to get it from the government on Medicare, or they're going to get it from the carrier on Medicare. That's it. And which one do you think they have more negotiation power on? It's with the carrier. So when the contracts come up for renewal, the hospital goes to the carrier and says, we want more money. The carrier comes back and says, no, we can't pay you more money. We're going to give you a little bit of an increase, but we're not going to give you this massive increase that you want. So now you have this back and forth going on, which is the negotiation. Now, here's where the shitty part is. The hospital systems, more often than not, go, oh, well, now you're going to do this. Well, guess what? We're going to scare the hell out of the seniors that are our patients. Tell them that you won't play nice in the sandbox with us and give us what we want. So we're going to tell them that they all need to find a new doctor, and we're going to scare the shit out of them. You all know it. Your phones are ringing, right? So they start doing that. And then it starts becoming this ping pong thing. And it's now a media play, and it is a media war. That no one is regulating this. Add one for bonus points when that contract comes up fourth quarter and it's in the middle of AEP. Because now you have it where the potential of those people being screwed for the next full calendar year is higher because it goes down to the very last minute. And depending on the size of that hospital system, they may not get an SEP to go ahead and make the change. Or you have it where that contract comes up at the very last day, someone says give, and they sign that contract. That is exactly what is happening when it comes to, and this is how you should explain it when you are with your client. This is a piece that we as a whole need to say, this isn't right. This isn't right for our client. It's not right for us because we have to deal with that shit show of a mess. and help guide our client through it, this is a problem. So this is one of the issues that our professional organizations is standing up, and NABIP just did a press release on this concerning issues in Nebraska that says this is a problem. But now you understand why it's a problem. It's a game of chicken in the media. And the only way that this stops is if we stand together and say, dude, stop it. And that happens with regulation. Okay, so guys, I'm going to probably go over by about 5 minutes. I hope you don't mind. Do they realize the number of seniors that can't afford supplement plans? Yes, they do. Problem with MA plans is they've gotten black eyes for denying care. Yes, which is a whole other piece of the many, many things that are in the middle that are sitting on Capitol Hill that are regulation that is actively being fixed. There is a laundry list of it that is actively being worked, Corey. Good point though. Okay. So, dumb question. Why does the government not want advantage plans? Because you have two different schools of thought. You have some that look at it and go, oh, well, original Medicare is better because we're not getting a lot of these claims and there's not all of this price tag cost, which is in the billions. On the advantage side, we can save the billions over here. And if all things are equal, original Medicare is better, so we don't want this and we won't have all the headache, we won't have all the things. The problem with this thinking is that on original Medicare, you have no one incentivizing these people to go to the doctor. You have no one incentivizing them to identify that they have diabetes or that they need to be put on blood pressure medicines. And sometimes that $25 gift card that carrier is giving somebody to go to the doctor to have a blood pressure reading so that they get on the right meds keeps them out of the ER. So what the government and the legislators, again, remember, I said they don't understand how this stuff works. So what happened, and it's taken me years to understand how this works to be able to explain it to you guys. But what ends up happening is that legislator is so short-sighted that they're looking at it going, well, we don't have that problem over here. You're right, you don't. Because if you looked at it long term and you looked at the people that actually could afford a Medicare supplement and that could afford to go to the doctor and to do these things, they're not over here in the original Medicare space. 51% of all Medicare eligibles are on an Advantage plan. And the majority of those that are on an Advantage plan are on a zero premium plan that gets them to the doctor so that way that the preventative is being done and they're being incentivized to do those things versus on original Medicare, you don't have any of that. And that is the crux of the problem between the us and them, between original Medicare versus Advantage plan. Does that make sense as to what that is and how that works? Okay, good. Good thing I can work fast or I can read fast. So, when we go ahead and we look at this, there is, yes, that is Shiloh, everybody. He just decided to come out of his nap. You'll see him walking around and all of that. I bring him to work all the time. So when we look at the way that this is, it's a mess, right? When you look at the issues that happened this AEP, so now I'm going to go back into what happened this AEP and why the commission stuff happened and how do we fix it and what needs to move forward. Okay. I know a lot of you guys are scared. And I'm going to try to get through this in the 7 minutes so that way you guys have an answer and we have some next steps. So there are the whole thing with networks and contracts. There's four different flavors of contracts that a provider organization can have. And depending on how that negotiation is going to change. So it's not all easy. That will be covered in my CE when it comes to that type of a stuff. When you look at the commission issues and what they did to us, if you look at the headwinds that I was talking about, most people don't understand how the Inflation Reduction Act screws a lot of people. And what I mean by that is that I will shut that comment section down if we go down a political side. So stop. When you go and you look at the headwinds that the Inflation Reduction Act causes, you have what I consider a perfect storm. No one sees, the carriers can't see what a competitor's formulary is for the next year. Okay? They can't see that just like we can't until October 1. So, and if you remember, I said, and there's a reason why I went through all of this, because now we're going to go full circle as to why I was talking about certain things at the beginning of class. When the carriers go and present their products in June, right? When they start doing that, they don't have an idea of what's happening with the various formularies. They don't see that until October when it's too late. So when a carrier's actuarial or product development time goes and sees and says, we want more market share. We want to get more market share in X plans, usually an HMO plan. HMO plans typically have the richest of the benefits because they're network based. We know this. So the carrier says, well, we want more market share in this HMO plan. So, yes, we have these changes with the Inflation Reduction Act, and we know that we're going to go ahead and have to change our plan with the changes to the max out of pocket and the hospital out of pocket or copays. And we're going to have to change how our drugs are covered and where things are in the formulary. All of that happens. And what ends up going on is that plan design person wages a bet. It's the easiest way for me to explain it. They wage a bet that how they've designed their plan and the formulary within that plan is going to be better. It's a game of poker. It's going to be better than the hand that United Healthcare did, or it's going to be better than the hand that Aetna did. Okay. So now we're going to go back a little bit. Look at AEP 2024, 2023 to 2024. Aetna was the number one winner for 2024 plan year. We all know this. That $6,000 or that $600 reimbursement on the fitness benefit was all the rage, right? We all sold the living hell out of that plan. That is where we ended up going ahead and that plan and that being where it was the plan was priced and looked at with that $600 benefit because they wanted the enrollment to come in. Aetna openly said they never expected to have the amount of enrollment that they took based on that benefit. And that benefit, it was being flat out sold. You know what? Go get your tennis shoes. Go get your golf fees paid. Go get, whatever it was. It was sold a myriad of ways. That automatically, right, what did they think was happening is exactly the point. They didn't think it was like wildfire when the plans got released, right? Everybody went, oh my God, we're going to totally sell the hell out of this because of the $6,000 or the $600 benefit. January 1 of 2024 hit, and Aetna went, oh my God, we are in trouble. And this is public. There isn't anything that I can't cite the source on. They did a holy shit moment because they didn't realize how popular that benefit was and how much money they were going to lose because of that benefit and the other claims stuff that was going to happen with those that were enrolled in those plans. It has been publicly said that they said that they were going to take years to be able to fix that. Humana had something similar happen. Now, here's where it gets good. They went ahead and the insurance carriers had that as a benchmark. So they had the historical on that. But then come June, they went ahead and they said, well, I'm still going to play my hand of poker and I'm not going to change it. So what happened is that the carriers that did the announcement for mid AEP with what happened with their plans and what was going on, it was one of two things. There were many plans that went ahead and said, you know what, these zero premium PPO plans, we're losing money hand over fist. Kill the plan. We can't do this. We don't want anybody enrolling in these. Not an option. That was issue one. Issue two, which hit Ohio hard, was we have so much enrollment coming into these plans because, ooh, we did changes in our formulary that priced us better by hundreds of dollars in a year to make this happen. So now we need to slow the enrollment. Well, how do we slow the enrollment? We can't stop the plan. CMS won't let us. So then what they did is they looked at it and went, okay, well, if we have to offer it, how do we turn off the tap? Well, let's turn it off so that the agents can't offer it. Let's turn it off so that it is non-commissionable, so that it gets pulled off of all of the electronic enrollment systems. And let's only make the enrollments come through the carrier website and Medicare.gov, which is what the regulation says is a requirement. And Ryan, how is it legal? It's legal because nobody's ever tried it before. It's legal because there's no legislation and regulation in place to stop that. And that is where I'm gunning. That is what I'm working on doing. That is what I am trying to get NAIFA and NABIP and anybody that'll listen to me to join in and go, put regulation in place that says that when a carrier's products get approved to be sold during AEP, they must also say, yes, it's commissionable or no, it's not. And it's okay if they say it's not commissionable before AEP. I'm okay with that. What I'm not okay with is in the middle of AEP giving me 24, 48 hours worth of notice to tell me, oh, no longer, we're not going to let you take these plans. That's a problem. That is undue stress that me, other agents, and their families do not need right before the holidays. And that is what we need to say collectively is not okay. You want to make plans non-commissionable? I'm totally fine with that for new business. I am okay with you going ahead and doing that before AEP starts, not after. Whatever decision you make, you have to live with for a full year. Because look at there's at least 24 of them right now that have non-commissionable plans, and it gets announced daily right now. That is an issue. When it comes to consulting fees, I do not suggest that you do them. They are illegal in many states. That is a problem. I do not recommend that you do that. I'm not behind it. When it comes to what WellCare did with the new and renewal and pulling your entire book of business, I see that as a breach of contract. I know that there are lawsuits that are being looked into. I also know that hopefully they actually file those lawsuits as breach of contract. Because how do you announce and promote lifetime commissions and then you have an agent that sells that on good faith to automatically undercut it and say, no, we're no longer going to honor that? At the time that we sold it, that's what you told us was going to happen. How do you take that back now? That is where we need to look at that happening, because again, there's nothing in place right now on that side either. So we have to put the protections in place now to look at it. Going into next steps, I need you guys to do the surveys. I need you guys to show the value of what the agent does. I need you to do this. I need you to go ahead and get your voices known so that we have the ability of doing this. As these things unfold, stay tuned. I will share it as I know more. I know NABIP will. I know NAFA will. I know that there are a lot of people out here that are trying to go ahead and protect us all. If you have questions, slide in my DM, send me an email. I'm happy to listen. I'm happy to hear it. I am all for suggestions and ways of looking at things, and I will take whatever help that it is that you can get. I will get you to the right spot and the right people that can help us all. But we need to work together to go ahead and do this. And there are multiple entities, not just NABIP, not just NAFA, not just Integrity, not just AmeriLife. There are so many other avenues that are working on advocating for our industry. So it is a collective effort. With that, we are 5 minutes after. I hope to God you guys found this helpful. If there are topics that you want to hear about, let me know. Again, you will find the replay of this video on my YouTube channel, which is Insurance Unfiltered with Amanda Brewton. If you do not follow me on social media, please connect to me. And guys, thanks for attending. Merry Christmas. I hope that you have a fantastic holiday. And yes, I'm going to cry again. Happy New Year, everybody. Thank you for all that you do. Thank you for listening. Thank you for giving me a platform and an audience to speak. And I hope that it eases your mind in some way about what we do. Thank you and have a great evening or great afternoon.